We continue with the second chapter of the book of Hosea. In the previous chapter, of course, we have the horrific prophecies of God's destruction. God saying to Israel, Lo Ami, you are not my people. I am not your God. I'm going to destroy you. The symbolic names, Lo Rachem. And now chapter 2. It's a little bit different within the same story. So very quickly we reject the last verse. The number of people of Israel will be like the sands of the sea, which can't be measured and counted. And instead of being told, you are not my people, what are you going to say? They'll be called the children of the living God. So this prophecy that's given to Hosea and the naming of his children and showing the break, if you want to put it, the destruction, the severing of the relationship between God and the Jewish people doesn't last into chapter 2. We're up to 2:2. The people of Yehuda and the people of Israel will assemble together, and they will have one person to lead over them. And it will be marvelous like the day of Yisrael. Right in the last chapter, Israel was symbolizing the destruction. Here, there's something great about the day of Yisrael and the return of Bnei Israel. Imru la'achem ami. Call your brothers my people. So now we've gone through, right, the different names. Ulachotechem ruchama. And call your sisters ruchama, ruchem, rachem, merciful, lovingly, except as the translation that I have here. But we've seen now a reversal. The first chapter, the horrific chapter, whether it was real, whether it was just a dream, is so quickly, and I can't say it's rejected, but there is, it does not last forever. In fact, in our book, it doesn't last very long. Rivu v'imchem rivu ki hi lo ishti v'anochi lo isha v'taser zununeh mipanev v'nafufeh mibein shadeha. So, right, it's sort of like argue with your mother. Argue with her because she is not my wife and I am not her husband. And let her put away her cheating ways and her adultery. Right, put that behind her. Right, I want you to be ruchama. I want you to be ami. I want Israel to symbolize something, a great day. So just end the terrible behavior. I didn't point it out. We have many metaphors, could have said it in the previous chapters, many metaphors about the relationship between God and the Jewish people. And in this book, at least the beginning of the book, it's partners. It's husband and wife. Bnei Yisrael being the wife. That's why they are the ones who are the cheater in the relationship. God is the Baal. And Bnei Yisrael shouldn't be turning to Baal Zvuv or any of the other Baalim or foreign idols. They should stay with their husband, who in the ancient period was their provider. Right? The husband was the one who provided all the necessary needs, food and shelter, etc., etc. That's what it's called, the Baal, in a sense like an owner. It's not necessarily, it's not the way many marriages or most marriages work today anymore. But this is a marriage. This is a partnership, and that's part of the problem. Pasuk Hey, penafshi tena rumavi Yomi v'alda v'samtia k'midbar v'shatiha. Or I will strip her naked and leave her as the day she was born, and she will be like the wilderness, right? Abandoned and die of thirst. But if she continues with this idolatry, I will not have mercy on her children, because they are the children of this whore, right? Right? God in a sense is saying, if God is Hosea in the symbolic marriage between Hosea and Gomer, then God is saying, I don't know if you're my children. Same way we said earlier, yes, in the previous chapter, Hosea doesn't know if these are his kids. He marries this woman, but she's not noted for her fidelity. Continuing verse 7, Ki zanta imam ovisha oratam ki amra elcha acharei moavai notnei lachmi umeimai tzamri ufishti shamni v'shikuyai. Right, their mother she cheated, and she conceived them shamelessly. Right? How is it shameless? Again, I don't know if I'm the father. That's what God's saying. Because she says, I'll go find my other lovers. They give me bread and water and wool and linen and oil and drink. I don't need you to provide for me. You're not my Baal. You're not my husband and my master. I can go to whoever I want. I'm a free agent. Therefore, I will place hedges on her roads, hedges that have thorns in them, and I'll build high walls so that she cannot find the way to go. Right? She'll try to find her lovers. She'll try to find the men that she cheats with, but she won't be able to find them. And because she won't be able to find them, she'll say, I'll go back to my first husband because that was better than now. Now I'm abandoned. So, right, and this is the idea of the punishment. God has exiled Bnei Yisrael, sent them into the wilderness, sent them into the desert. The walls are high. They can't achieve anything. They can't find their right place. And so finally, when they realize that why that is, they will go back to their first partner, which of course for Bnei Yisrael is God. We're in verse 10, Pasuk Yud, V'hilo yadaki anochi netati lah hadagan v'atirosh v'yitzar v'chesev v'beitzela v'zahav asu laba'al. She didn't think. I was the one who gave her the grain and the wine and the oil. I gave her silver and gold, which ironically, they took that silver and gold, which I gave them and used for Baal. And that takes us all the way back, in a sense, to the book of Shemot, where Bnei Yisrael attain great wealth from the destruction of Egypt and from the splitting of the sea with the gold and right stuff coming ashore. And part of the challenge, the book of Shemot, is what are Bnei Yisrael going to do with that gold? And it cuts both ways. They build a wonderful temple, the tabernacle, and they're very generous, but they also build the golden calf. So here it says God provided with the gold and silver, but you didn't use it to me. You gave it to in a sense, my enemy. I will take you back, and there'll be grain, and there'll be wine, and wool, and linen, and you will be clothed. But now, and so I'll uncover her shame in the sight of her lovers, and none of them will save her from me. Right? Meaning, when the destruction happens, these foreign idols that they're worshiping are not going to be able to help her. I'll enter rejoicing her festivals, the new moons, Shabbat, all of her happy seasons. Vashimoti gafnau teinata asher amrayat na hemali asher nanali me'avai v'samtim liya'ar v'chaltem chayat hasadeh. All of her vines and her fig trees will be laid waste. Right? She thinks that she received them from her lovers for her relationships with them. But God says, I'm going to destroy them, and the beasts of the field will devour them. And that will be her punishment for all of the worship of Baal. Who, right, I gave her all these things, all this jewelry, all these beautiful things, and she went and gave them to the people she cheated with. She forgot me. And so this is her punishment. She's going to be exiled, and ultimately it's a punishment so she will remember that was better with me in the first place. Continuing Pasuk Tet Zayin, verse 16. I will speak to her, and lead her through the wilderness, and I will speak to her with kindness. Aliba. And will give her vineyards from there in the valley and the plowland of hope, and she will respond. Just like when she was young, when she came up in the land of Egypt, like when Bnei Yisrael had trust and had faith and had an understanding that it was God who was providing for them. This is the second book in a row that early on in the book we see a name of a city of Israel, not something like Yerushalayim, but right in the beginning of the book of Yechezkel. Yechezkel gets a vision in a Tel Aviv, Mound of Aviv, and here Petach Tikva, of course, you could say a suburb of Tel Aviv. Continue verse 18. And on that day, God says, you will call me Ishi, your husband, and not Baali, not your master. Meaning, you won't look at me as being somebody who gives to you and therefore controls you. It's almost that you will see me as your equal. Ishvi Isha, you'll see me as your equal. You'll see me as somebody who you want to be with. And she will remove the names of these Baalim from her mouth, and she won't mention them anymore. And that day I'll make a covenant. The beasts of the field and the birds of the sky and all the creeping things, and I will banish swords and bows from the land, and I will let her live in safety. We talked a lot in the book of Yechezkel how it goes back to the blessings and curses in the end of Vayikra, and this verse has a lot of those type of a lot of the language that comes from there as well. We just have a few verses. Famous verse 21. Ve'erastichli lo'olam ve'erastichli b'tzedek u'mishpat u'v'chesed u'v'rachamim. Right, and I will, in a sense, engage. Erusin, there are two parts of a Jewish wedding. There's Erusin and Nisuin. Erusin, which is also called Kedushin, is the first part. So the husband and wife officially in Jewish law, if they do this, they don't live together, but they're officially married. If a wedding breaks up, if a potential marriage breaks up after an engagement, of course, there's no get, there's no divorce proceedings. If somebody does Erusin, which you could read all about in Masechet Kedushin, then the wife would need to be provided with a get. So here it's the other way around. So Erusin means the beginning of the relationship with God. You're my fiancé forever, right? And and we'll be fiancés through righteous and justice and goodness and mercy. And you think about it, right? It's supposed to be that desirous early parts of the relationship is what's being described here, I think, by the idea of Erusin. And the verse 22 continues, and I will be erased to you with faithfulness, which we know that Gomer and symbolic Bnei Yisrael, with all of their cheating on God, didn't. And then you will know God. And certainly, at least to me, that verse where it says, and you will know God, we think about the biblical form of knowing. In a sense, really an intimate knowledge of God, coming back to this whole idea, husband and wife. And so, right, if you remain faithful, we'll remain faithful together. Of course, these verses are said when tefillin are being put on, when you tie the straps around the finger. The end of putting on your tefillin shel yad is when these verses are said, at least according to Ashkenazi custom. Probably Sephardic as well, but I don't know. Continue. We have a few more verses. On that day, God says, I will respond to the sky and shall respond to the earth. Right, the earth which is destroyed. Yirmiyahu's prophecies, Yechezkel's prophecies, the destruction. And the earth will respond. There'll be grain and wine and oil. And they'll respond to Israel. So in the end of the beginning, in the end of verse 24, we see that Yisrael has been transformed. It's no longer a prophecy of destruction. His name is no longer envisioning horrors that are going to happen in the valley of Yisrael. Now it's saying that it's going to be good. And the same thing in verse 25, where I am going to be merciful for lo ruchama, for when I said I was not going to be merciful. And I'll say to the child who was named, you are not my nation, you are not my people. I will say, you are my people, and he will respond back, and you are my God. And right here we have a very, very quick reversal from Hosea. I was living at a time when destruction is going to happen. Not all the kings. Chizkiah was a good king, but the kings before him weren't very good. Kings after him weren't good, although it doesn't really talk about he didn't live beyond Chizkiah, it appears, or wasn't offering prophecy after that time. But we see here that change happens, and Bnei Israel are given the opportunity. And the description, at least here, is what's called Yisurin Shel Ahava, which is a difficult concept. The idea that God's punishment is supposed to be out of love, is supposed to bring us so that we will come back to the relationship with God, and therefore come back to our land. And it won't be the Lu'ami, it won't be the Lo Ruchama, but it will be with mercy, that we are God's people.